OTAs are in the books for the New York Giants. So on today's video, I'm going to give you my biggest winners and losers coming out of OTAs. Nobody is really a loser, but it's the name of the segment. And I just want to talk about a couple of players, coaches, and position groups that did not live up to the hype in OTAs. But before we do, I need to make sure everybody watching today's video is subscribed to the channel. If you did not know, I also host our New York Knicks Now channel here at Chat Sports. And the Knicks Now Real Ones, they have challenged the Giants Now Real Ones to a 50,000 subscriber race. The first channel that gets there, they're going to get a celebratory live show. So if you want that, hit that sub button and tell your friends to tell a friend. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by, and I hope you all had a good weekend. I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible. We're also going to be going live on the channel later today, so make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on. With OTAs done, though, let's recap OTAs. Before we do, though, mandatory minicamp is right around the corner. That will start actually tomorrow. Crazy June 11th is already tomorrow. That'll be mandatory minicamp. So we're going to find out who wants to be there. If players do not show up, they will be fined. And we'll get a little bit more of a closer and up-close personal look at some of these players. But before mandatory minicamp, let's talk OTAs. And my biggest winner coming out of OTAs for the New York Giants is Malik Nabers. And I was very excited to see what Malik Nabers did in his first OTA in his NFL career. This is someone that really took everybody by storm, whether it was beat reporters, whether it was just mandatory people that worked for the Giants. Everybody sung the praises of Nabers, and he looked like the best player on offense. There were even people that were in attendance that said he was the best player on the team at certain portions of practice. The main thing that I was excited about was coaches and teammates were singing the praises of him. You saw Jalin Hyatt talk about how good of a player he already is. Deonte Banks has talked about it. Multiple Giants players has talked about it. It's one thing for your coaches to up-talk a rookie and tell the fans how good they are. But when you have people in this league who are already somewhat accomplished, it's really, really, I think, exciting to see those veterans speak up about the rookies. And my main question is, did the Giants find their wide receiver one? I think they just might have. Art Stapleton, one of the longest tenured beat reporter for the Giants, he said this about Malik Nabers following his unbelievable practice on June 6th. I have not seen a receiver have a practice like he did today since Odell Beckham Jr. And anytime you are talked about in the same breath as OBJ as a Giant to a current receiver on this team, that's a really, really strong indication, and they've had a lot of success. Wish I can give you more. He talked about that old awesome play he made where he went leaping up the sideline, and I'm just really excited for this wide receiver room. We know Darius Slayton has had some really good moments in this league. One of the, really the most notable receiver outside of Nabers. He's led this team in receiving yards 4 of the last 5 seasons. Jalin Hyatt, I'm expecting big things from him in year 2. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is going to take a major step entering year 3. Nabers is going to be joined by those guys, and I am absolutely pumped up for that. If you are excited for Malik Nabers and you're ready to watch him play football on Sundays, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon. I cannot wait until week 1 where I get to tell producer Patrick Seatman that Malik Nabers, he just tore you up. Hit that thumbs up icon for me. Winner number 2 of OTAs for me comes on the defensive side of the ball, and that is Brian Burns. He was as good as advertised. When you give up a second-round pick and $150 million, you want that player to show up to camp and take everybody by storm, and he absolutely did that. He showed every single person that was there why the Giants paid $150 million for him to be a part of their organization. The Giants' offense really struggled when Burns was on the field. He didn't allow Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock to have all the time in the world back there to survey the field and make reads. Burns, he was in the backfield making a lot of plays. And I love the fact that Burns and Thibodeau, they seem like the new stepbrothers out there. They seem like best friends. They're always hanging out. They're doing drills together, and they're challenging each other, and they're competing against each other to bring the best out of both of those players. So he's playing like a stud. He's being a leader, and he's helping mentor a younger Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm extremely pleased with everything we've seen from Burns since he has been traded to the Giants. And when you talk about Burns and the rest of this defensive line, they are the group that needs to lead this team. If the Giants are going to be successful this year, it's because Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari were four of the better players on this football team. The Giants are going to have to win games with a strong defensive presence. If they want to be a team that's competing in the NFC or the NFCs, they need to be a defensive-minded team, top 5, top 6, top 7 defensive unit. And the way they can get there is if Burns does what he has done his entire career. Really looking forward to see what he does this year for Big Blue. Back to the receiver position, though. Jalin Hyatt was another OTA winner for me. And maybe when you have 2 OTA winners from the wide receiver position, that means that your DBs should be some losers. But I'm really just more excited and looking forward to the fact that Hyatt in year 2, I'm expecting big things from him. He looks stronger and more physical heading into this second offseason. Almost everybody that talked about Hyatt talked about the muscle that he put on, and he just carried a swag and a confidence throughout camp that I didn't really think that he had in his rookie season. And wide receiver coach Mike Grove for the New York Giants says he is a different guy this year. This was his full quote on Hyatt entering year 2. He says his growth so far, a year removed from when he first got here, is tremendous. All of the work that he put in, investing in his game, learning what, how, and why, he's just a different guy. He's got stronger here in the offseason. And if you're the Giants and you used a priority third-round pick, you traded up in the third round to select Hyatt, the playmaking, home run hitting, wide receiver deep threat out of Tennessee, you're expecting him to be really, really good. In year 1, whether it was because the Giants gave up 85 sacks, they had 3 different quarterbacks, whatever the reason was, rookie year was a little bit disappointing. But he had some splash plays, and he had some moments where you're like, this kid's got a nice future. And I'm expecting all of that to come to fruition in year 2. I think he's going to produce. I think people are somewhat sleeping on him, and they've kind of just said, you know what, he had a bad rookie year. We're kind of done with Jalin Hyatt. That's not me whatsoever. I'm expecting him, alongside Nabers and Robinson, to be the face of the Giants receivers for years to come. Hyatt, I'm expecting him to at least double up these stats. Can I get 46 catches for almost 700 yards? Can I get 4 or 5 touchdowns? Take the top off the defense. Hyatt's going to do big things this year. I really do expect that. And the guy that's going to be throwing him the football, Daniel Jones. I thought he had a good OTA, period, overall. Were there some plays that I saw on film that were a little bit worrisome? Yeah, we definitely know that Daniel Jones likes to check the ball down. We know that he likes to get the ball out quick and pass open some open, deep passes. But I thought he looked good for the most part. And the main reason he's a winner for me is he is ahead of schedule when it comes to his rehab from that torn ACL. He's already a full participant in 7-on-7s, not yet participating in 11-on-11s. That could come in minicamp, but I would expect that to come a little bit later in the summer. And Jones said there is no doubt about him being ready to go for week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. So we're going to have DJ under center week 1, and he looked much better than Drew Lock and DeVito. We had talked about on this channel that Lock was going to push Jones to start. We heard the GM from the Seattle Seahawks, Schneider, say that's ultimately why Lock chose to join the Giants. But everybody that was in attendance pretty much said Lock could not really, or Jones shouldn't have any worry about Lock beating him out because he looked much better than Drew did. But it's now or never. It is now or never for Daniel. If he wants to continue to be a starter for the Giants, let alone in this league, it is now or never. He has to prove it to himself, his teammates, his coaches, the ownership group, anybody related with the New York Giants that he could be a franchise quarterback. I'm not so sure that he can be, but I'm going to be rooting for him to be because he's going to be the quarterback of my favorite football team, and he has the chance to do it. And as a competitor, that's all you can ask for. Put me in the ring and let me duke it out. And we know Daniel Jones will compete. We know he's going to outwork people. Let's see what he does on Sundays this upcoming year. What's your confidence level, though, in Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback for this team? Scale it for me from 1 to 10, your confidence level in DJ. A little bonus OTA winner for me. I thought a guy that stood out every time I read the post-practice report and I talked to people that were there watching. Deonte Banks, kind of like Jalin Hyatt, just carrying a little bit different of a swag and moxie heading into year 2. And the Giants need Deonte Banks to be a player this year. He was a rookie last year, and he looked like a rookie at times. Had some really nice games, had some other games where he struggled. But I'm expecting this season for him to end the year in talks of being a top 15, top 20 corner in this league. That's what you need when you select a guy in the first round at that position. The Giants defense wants to do what they're capable of doing this year. They need Banks to be a shutdown corner on one half of the field. Coming up next, I got some losers to discuss. Again, it's non-padded practice. Nobody is necessarily a loser, but it's my job to give you my biggest takeaways from the OTA period. We'll do that around the corner, but first make sure you're hooked up with our proud sponsor and you've got a Malik Nabers jersey on the way. If you want to be rocking a Nabers jersey for week 1, go to chatsports.com/Nabers. That's chatsports.com/Nabers. He has not yet picked his jersey number. Once he does, it'll be official, and those jerseys will be sent out to you. Get yours today for week 1, chatsports.com/Nabers. All righty, let's start on the offensive line when it comes to OTA losers. And for me, they're the biggest losers coming out of the 10-day practice period. Does this mean that I'm absolutely worried about the offensive line? No, but I don't love hearing that Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Azeez Ojulari had their way with the offensive line, and at times the offense could not run the drills in the way they wanted to because of defensive line pressure. And I also don't want to overreact. I don't want to take too much away from non-padded scripted practices. But the offensive line, they struggled to block the Giants' D-line. And that could be a double-edged sword, right? That means that Brian Burns, Thibodeau, and Lawrence and all of those guys are going to be ready to rock and roll and are going to be the heartbeat of this team, which we are all expecting them to do so. But after giving up 85 sacks last year, I am just petrified of any bad offensive line play. And it sounded like at times during OTAs, that's what went down. Andrew Thomas, no fear at all that he's going to get back to being that top 5 tackle in this league. I've got full confidence in that. I expect Illuminor to be an average to an above average player at that left guard spot. Very interesting that he's playing left guard compared to right guard. Hadn't played much left guard in his career. John Michael Schmitz, he better take a step in year 2. I'm expecting him to do so. There's been some veterans on this team talking about the growth that they've seen in just the 12 months that he's been here. John Runyon is a pro. He's going to be an above-average right guard, but it comes back to right tackle. Comes back to Evan Neal. If Evan Neal does not take a step, if he gives you the same production that he gave you the last 2 years, this offensive line is once again going to be in trouble. And Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News, he didn't have very nice things to say about Evan Neal following one of the last practices, and he almost gave an injury update to what was already an injury for Evan Neal. He said this, Giants right tackle Evan Neal is on the bike and on the side. Didn't even stretch with or break down with the team at the start of practice today from what I could see. He is coming off ankle surgery, but he had been on the field for early periods this spring and then working on the side during team drills and prior OTAs. So Evan Neal, still working back from that ankle injury that he had in the offseason. He's not yet a full participant in OTAs. I don't expect him to be a full participant in mandatory minicamp starting tomorrow. And my patience is just running thin. I don't know. I don't have that much confidence in Evan Neal. From what I've seen from 2 years, I don't know how you're going to fix that. I know you got a new offensive line coach in Carmen Bracillo. It'll be statue building worthy if he can make Evan Neal an average player in this league. I'm just about running done. I'm just running out of patience. It's now or never. It's now or it is never. And I fear that it may be never. Another loser for OTAs, and this is just because of injuries, and I use it as a little bit of a cheat code. These next 2 guys are actually just injury updates. But it gives me a time to talk about Gunnar Olszewski, who didn't finish OTAs with the New York Giants. He actually ended up getting hurt. He had an ankle and foot injury that popped up during OTAs. It happened on a play, and he looked visibly upset, threw his gloves to the ground. He was wearing a walking boot on the side at OTAs for the last couple of practices, and that's unfortunate for him. He was the guy that was supposedly getting a lot of reps at the receiver position early on in this practice session, these practice sessions, but he's also someone that I thought had his name written in ink when it comes to the final 53 because of what he could do as a punt returner. But he's not going to be healthy. I'm not so sure that he's going to be guaranteed to make this ball club. You look at the wide receiver depth chart, and I think the Giants are only going to keep 6 receivers. They kept 6 last year. I expect them to do that again this year. So you're going to have a guy like Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, Jalin Hyatt, and Wan'Dale Robinson. So Yeah, there's that. And then you're looking at a guy like Hodgins and Robinson and Olszewski and McKenzie and Ford Wheaton all competing for those final two spots. Gunnar Olszewski, he won't be a go at minicamp next week as he deals with that foot and ankle injury. And Brian Daboll thinks he'll be ready to go for training camp, but unfortunately, he won't be able to go for minicamp. Another injury update for the Giants is Isaiah Simmons. He has not done much work with the New York Giants, and this is a guy that I think that should, excuse me, be in store for his the biggest year of his career, just because of the defense he's now playing in with Shane Bowen. He likes to operate with a lot of versatile defenders on the field, and that fits right into what Simmons is. But Dan Duggan of The Athletic broke it down on the 6th of June that Simmons, undisclosed, hasn't participated this spring, but he was with the first-team defense on a sub-package during an install period. Looked like he was in a hybrid linebacker DB spot. So we're not sure why he hasn't been participating. That's just unfortunate because you would think that with him playing that linebacker DB role and playing alongside some other talented players and for Shane Bowen, who likes to operate out of the dime personnel grouping at the second highest rate in the NFL, that would lead to Simmons having a career year. And he should have that, but he's got to be available. He's got to be healthy, and it's a little bit disappointing that he wasn't able to do so and participate in OTAs, but nice to hear that he was at least able to digest the new playbook and be a part of some walkthroughs. You talk about the linebacker position for the Giants, and it's a talented group. One of the most talented position groups on this team. Bobby Okereke, one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He was really good for the Giants this past year. I'm expecting him to be great again. Micah McFadden had a really good year. Sure up that tackling a little bit. He's going to be a player. You got Simmons. You drafted Darius Muasau. Darian Beavers was a fan favorite last year, but didn't make the team. Carter Coughlin and Matthew Adams, those guys are special team specialists. So you're looking at a trio of Okereke, McFadden, and Simmons, with Muasau probably getting the occasional play, but more so a special teamer in his rookie season. The last person I want to talk about as a loser for the Giants, and he's not a loser. He's the assistant head coach for this team. But there's been a major development this spring. And throughout OTAs, Mike Kafka was not the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. It was not Kafka calling in the plays to DeVito, Jones, or Drew Lock. It was Brian Daboll who was operating on the walkie-talkie in the headset, and he was the one calling in the plays. And I truly do believe that Brian Daboll will be the play caller for the New York Giants this year. And now is the time for him to do it. You're entering year 3 as the head coach for this football team. The offense is in no better of a spot than it was when you took over as the head coach, and that's why you got this job, for what you were able to do as an offensive coordinator, as a play caller, as a game planning guy for the Buffalo Bills. That got your success at those things, got you this job. You were hired to fix the offense. The offense is still broken into a million pieces. So if I'm Brian Daboll, and I'm entering year 3 after picking 6th in the NFL draft, and I know my seat is heating up, I'm going down on my own terms. I'm going down as the play caller. And that's what's going to happen this year. I'm expecting Dabes to be the guy in the headset of Daniel Jones on Sundays. But I know there's some people that think it should still be Mike Kafka. They don't want Daboll worried about the offense. They want to be in the CEO of the entire project. I don't care about that at all. Make your impact felt. Coach this offense up. Who do you want to be the OC? Daboll, Kafka? Let me know in the comments section. And make sure to hit me up on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Hit me up over there, and let's go Big Blue.